In today's program, the Thai government has ramped up its efforts during these critical times, allocating its vital resources towards monitoring news outlets because it says that is a matter of national security. Meanwhile, the Samui Plus program may be cancelled if the COVID situation worsens, which it is in the rest of the country, according to a latest report. A bit of a downer episode today in terms of stories, but we'll tell you about some positive things that we plan on doing at the end of the show, so be sure to stick around for that. An extension of the sealed construction worker camps problem in Greater Bangkok is now looming in Phuket as the local provincial government closes down entry and exit from the ramshackle accommodation areas. Some 30 worker camps in the island province have been ordered sealed with armed officials guarding the access. Sean Stenning from 5-Star Marine and part of the One Phuket drive to help feed Phuket's impoverished communities says this new order is putting immense pressure on volunteer groups who are trying to keep up with the demand to find basic food and provisions for a growing number of Phuket residents. He says there will be plenty of debate about who should be feeding these people locked up under the order, but will result in additional resources needed to find food for thousands of workers imprisoned in these worker camps. Starting today, the Thai government has clamped down on media from spreading fake or distorted news that might cause fear pertaining to the COVID outbreak. The threat of censorship now hangs over the heads of violators, and officials are wrapping up the warnings made a few weeks ago. Thailand's Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha signed the restriction order, which was previously published in the Royal Gazette. The order says that the media is barred from publishing or broadcasting information that, quote, foments fear or has the intention of distorting information and causes confusion, which the report says may affect national security and stability. Further, it has been reported that the National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission can revoke the licenses of media who are seen as violating the rules. The NBTC will monitor the news with an eye towards what can be considered distorted or fear-mongering. They will also be obligated to notify the police of the violator's identity. People who are found guilty might have their IP address traced and subsequently have their internet access revoked by the NBTC. Koh Samui's reopening plan, Samui Plus, may be cancelled if the COVID-19 situation worsens over the next 2 weeks. Yutasak Supasorn from the Tourism Authority of Thailand says for now, the reopening is still on, although a recently approved plan to allow participants in the Phuket Sandbox to visit Samui and other islands after 7 days on Phuket has been scrapped. The Samui Plus model dictates that if over 20 COVID cases are recorded in the next 2 weeks, tourists will be required to stay in quarantine facilities. The uptake for Samui Plus has been lukewarm at best, with most of the arrivals coming from Phuket rather than fresh arrivals from overseas. Meanwhile, Phuket Sandbox remains open despite the provincial government adding another layer of restrictions on people getting onto the island. The new travel restrictions start on August the 3rd. The decision has been triggered by evidence that the vast majority of new infections are locally transmitted, not from international Sandbox travelers. Therefore, from August the 3rd to at least August the 16th, further restrictions will be put on expats and locals wanting to travel to Phuket. The only people allowed entry now will be students commuting for school who are under 18 and can't be vaccinated. People with vaccination appointments in Phuket will be allowed to enter with proof of appointment and a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours. Meanwhile, the only other people allowed in are ambulances and other emergency rescue vehicles, the transport of food and consumer goods, agriculture and livestock, other essential supplies, or people with ticket flights out of Phuket Airport. Importantly, international travelers will not be affected by these rules, and the Sandbox will continue at this stage.
It's time to join the conversation. Thaiger Talk is our forum where you can share your thoughts and comments about all the news stories, as well as just about anything happening in Thailand. Just scroll down under any Thaiger story, click on Thaiger Talk, register, and you're in. It's time to join Thailand's fastest growing forum. So jump in and be part of the Thaiger Talk conversation.
The number of new infections in the most severe wave to hit Thailand since the start of the pandemic continues to remain about 15,000 infections per day. And of 165 COVID-related deaths reported yesterday, 21 of them died at home. The highest number of infections is in the capital with 3,963 new cases reported yesterday, followed by neighboring provinces of Samut Sakhon and Nakhon Pathom. Other provinces with high rates of infection include the eastern province of Chonburi and the central provinces of Samut Prakan and Nonthaburi. The severity of the crisis in Bangkok and surrounding provinces is putting the healthcare system under pressure and has led to a hospital bed shortage. Asymptomatic patients and those with only mild symptoms no longer face mandatory hospitalization and can instead isolate in their own homes. The government is also offering free transport to COVID-19 patients who wish to return to their home provinces for treatment. Suksan Kiti Suphasorn from the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration's Medical Office says more healthcare workers and extra equipment and medical supplies are being assigned to cope with the current surge. Today, the Center for CCSA has reported 17,345 new infections and 117 deaths. Looking regionally, there are 4,992 new COVID cases and 159 more deaths reported today in Vietnam, the epicenter being around Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam South. In Malaysia, another 17,170 cases were announced today, plus 174 new deaths. Singapore is doing the best, but still announced 133 new cases in the island state. In Myanmar, with everything else going on, there's been 5,234 new cases and 342 COVID-related deaths. And in Indonesia, another 43,479 cases today and 1,893 new deaths. In light of all this bad news, I just want to mention that although things are tough, many people are rallying around to help those that are in need as Thailand goes through these darker times. So, over the next week, the Thaiger will report a lot of amazing work being done to keep people and larger communities going. A lot of this work is being done outside the government realm, and we not only want to recognize the volunteer work that's being done, but also report on the critical need to recognize what's going on outside of the daily news. We should also recognize that in the short to medium term, things are likely to get worse rather than better. Of course, we'll continue to bring you accurate and timely news on this program, as well as our other content on the YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell on to stay up to date. Thank you so much for watching, and Sawadee krap.